Hello. You see me. Is the sound coming in okay? All right. Okay. Oh, good. Glad you can hear both. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Casey, and welcome to another hobby project of Hope Miniature Painting. Tonight, I'm going to continue working on Smaug. I'm not sure if the words are coming up sideways on the picture for you guys or not. I'll have to mess with that. But anyways, I have the rest of Smaug put together. So here's his head, his torso, the legs are on there, and then I got his tail. Going right back up there. I also have his wings that I put all the spikes on the end of the wings, his claw. Changed around the camera a bit, so I'm still fine-tuning it. So hopefully there's no issues tonight. Have the other arm, the other wing with his claw, and then the spikes. This one right here got a little bent. I gotta re-glue that. And we'll set this guy out of the way. I went ahead and started working on the base today with some airbrushing, getting the gold. I'll hold it this way, I guess. So what I did is I primed it in black with the airbrush, and then I did layers of the gold. I started with P3 molten bronze, which is kind of a coppery bronze color. Then I did P3 roulette gold, which is right in here, and then a highlight of the solid gold, and just random places to hit the highlights, and then amidst it's shiny, yeah, he's shiny, amidst of the radiant platinum and solid gold for some fine high points. And I'll show you the paints that I used. I ran these all through the airbrush today. So these are the colors: it's molten bronze, roulette gold, then solid gold, and then a mix of solid gold and radiant platinum, more towards the platinum, the higher points. And I will be adding washes and then picking out the details. So we'll probably work on that a little bit later. Right now I'm going to start doing some putty work. I'll show you guys how to do putty work. I think I'm going to do that on the wings. A little easier to handle than the big body. So I'm going to set him aside. Hold on a minute. Alright. I'm not going to go through the whole process of adding putty to the whole model in today's stream. I'm going to concentrate more on painting the base and actually do some painting for once instead of doing all this prep work. But I will show you how to do some putty work. The wings are pinned. I put a pin in it so I can attach them later. This way I can get to the underside with the airbrush real easy. So the stuff I'm going to use for puttying, gap filling. This is Formula P3 brown aluminum putty. From Privateer Press. They make the War Machine Hordes game. I like their P3 hobby line, the paints and then all their hobby stuff. So as you can see, it's a brown and aluminum color. You take a little bit of each, mix it together, and then you're able to fill in the gaps. As you can see right in here, this hole right there, I need to fill that in. And then on the wings right here and there. And then the other wing is just the same right in here. It's just where the two pieces, when I glued them together, they didn't quite flush, so I guess I have to add some putty work to fill in that gap. It's pretty nasty. On Smaug, on the body, he's in his bombs right now. Right here, that's a pretty nasty gap that I gotta fill in. And then right here on his face, right by his eye. And then around his tail. Right there. This part right here is where the wing will be. Make sure I'm in under the camera. It's further up than I'm used to. And also I'll be adding putty right here on where the tail is to smooth that out, and I'll file that down just to make it really connected. Here it's bumpy too. It just didn't line up completely right. Feet. So I'll be doing that off camera. You can see that on Thursday. I'll show that off on Thursday. And then hopefully on Thursday, I'll be able to start working on Smaug himself. I'll do some primering. Yeah, darn shrinkage. I'll do some primering with the airbrush and then do some base coats with some lighting like I did with this on the main body for Thursday. That's what I'm hoping for. Oh. All right. So what I'm going to do, I also have this putty. It's Vallejo plastic putty, and it works great. I really like it. It's a new product that I just found. And what you do is it has a very nice nozzle. You push it out like toothpaste, and it just comes out in a nice, smooth application. It's the application nozzle, that's right. And you just move right over where you need to fill in the seam. And it takes like 30 minutes roughly to dry fully. But while it's wet, you can take a brush, dampen it with some water, and you can smooth it out. Works much better than, I found it works much better than the liquid green stuff. I've also tried Milliput and have that all watered down, but I couldn't get the consistency right with that. It always seemed so chalky and it didn't work, and it was kind of frustrating. This works really well. And after 30 minutes, if you needed to add some more, you just put a little bit more on, wait another, smooth it out, wait 30 minutes, and then it's fully dry, and then you can use a file and file it. And then once you prime it and add your base coats, it's covered up. It works really well, really quick. the modeling putty. I also have the Citadel green stuff, which is the blue and the yellow. It's also known as Neatite. This is Citadel's actual brand. A little more. It's about the same price. It looks like I get 4 different pieces in here, and you mix the 2 parts together. Blue and yellow make green, and then you can work that putty into the gaps, smooth it out. I find the green stuff for me is a little too rubbery. It's kind of hard to sculpt into. That's why I like P3's modeling putty. I can work with it a little easier and smooth it out. I don't use water to smooth it. I use car mats or lip balm. I just put a little bit of this on my hand. So when I have the putty mixed up, I put that on my thumbnail, and I just take from that, make sure my sculpting tool is lubricated, so it's so the putty doesn't stick to your tool, and you can use that and smooth it out with your fingers. Depending on how thick you have applied the putty, is how long it takes to dry. And usually with this, I'll let it dry overnight, a good 8 to 12 hours maybe. Overnight's good enough, and by then I can prime over it. Well, actually I clean it to wash off the car mats, because you don't want that the jelly petroleum jelly that's in lip balm on the model, because the primer and the paint won't stick to it. So I give it a good wash, let that thoroughly dry, and then I'm able to prime it, and then when that's dry, start painting. So, all right. I wanted to fix that horn real quick. Which one was it? It was this one. All right, so I'm going to use my good Bob Smith Industries gap filling medium glue. And I'm just trying to dab it in there, if it will work. Oh, it's sealed up. Hold on a minute. I lost my paper clip. There we go. Alright, I can just use a paper clip to clean the tip on here. There we go. Put it down. I gotta be very careful with these tips. I added pins to connect them to the wing, and they're really flimsy. I gotta be very careful with it. Get in there. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna set that aside before I start puttying it and work on the other wing so that can dry real quick. Alright. I gotta be very careful. I'm catching myself with the spikes. Alright. So really I just need to do the hands, and then any spots on the claws. Now the modeling putty is the same thing that when they made the models for gaming, they sculpted them. Now they use 3D sculpting and 3D printers and things like that. Technology has moved up, but originally they would make an armature out of wire, a basic form, and then they would use putty and sculpt the details on it, and it was a little more intense, labor intensive to work through that, as you got to wait for it to dry before you can add more onto it. Now they just 3D sculpt in different computer programs, which is still cool. Some of the sculptures that models that they're able to get from 3D sculpting is just fantastic. Alright, so I got my 2 parts of putty. I just did a little bit. You want to work, you don't want to have a whole lot because it does dry. Once you start mixing it together, the chemical reaction, that starts to already to dry. So you just mix it really good, just twist it. So roughly equal amounts. I know if you do a little bit of one side compared to the other, you can get different not thicknesses, but able to sculpt it. You get like a harder edge or softer edge depending on what you're sculpting. I just do regular, about 50-50, and I just mix it till I get a good consistency, solid color. And for this, it turns to kind of like a brownish gray. And as you can see, it's already kind of sticking to my fingers. I'm not quite going to add some Carmets to it, because I want to make sure it gets mixed. Alright, so now you have a little blob of putty. I just attach that to the top of my thumb. That way it's easy for me as I drop the tool. Haha, live streaming. I just use the tool right there, grab a little bit, stick it on the part, smush it out. So this is a sculpting tool. You can get at hobby stores. This was from Privateer Press also. They had a set of 3 sculpting tools, and this is the one I like. It's got a nice flat end on one end, and then a blade, knife type. It's not too sharp, so it has some putty left on it. I need to get some more Carmets here. So I just did a little bit and put it on the end of my thumb right here. And I just use that to cover the ends of the tool. Alright, so we're going to start on this part right in here. So I just pull off a piece of the putty, and I'm going to roll it into a tube, sausage, worm, whatever you want to call it. Tip on the tool, and you just work it. You just stick it onto the area that you need to fill in the gap, and start working it in between the holes. What's nice with the putty is then you can sculpt it to match the surrounding area. But right now I'm just going to smooth it out. And what I like about this type of putty is I can use my finger with some Carmets on it and help push it right into that groove. And it just, you're pushing it up against the other part of the detail, and voila, you filled in the gap. That quick and easy. I found I haven't tried green stuff lately, so I'm not sure if they've changed it or not. But in the past, I found it to be a real pain to work with. But this is much easier, and I like using it. So, got another bit of putty. Sometimes it will stick to the tool. You just need to add more of the lip balm. You don't need to use exactly Carmettes. I just find that was easier. You can just take regular chapstick and just rub that onto your finger. Makes your skin nice and smooth. So hopefully this is coming in okay. Is that focus? It looks like it's out of focus. I can't tell. Danielle, can you tell if it's in focus? If you're listening to me? And then you just work around the area that needs it. So this hand, it was these two fingers, and then this thumb was added. And right here, I'll need to smooth that out. And I'm going to use the plastic putty on that. It'll work better than trying to do this putty. I like to use the modeling putty for big gaps. It's a little easier because it just works better for me. I have used the plastic putty and I just stuck the nozzle right at the hole and pressed in as much as it will take and then smoothed it out, and that works too. But I think I was wasting more than I needed to. So definitely the modeling putty works better to fill in those big gaps. Also, this is great when not just when you put together the regular models and you find gaps for the resin pieces. Sometimes they get little air holes, little holes in the model. And I found some on Smaug the other night, and I could use this putty, just fill in that hole and then smooth it out the top, and it just fills it in real easy. If you you convert your models using different parts to make your own model, and you want to add detail, modeling putty is great for that. The most I've done of sculpting is just filling in, trying to match the detail around a gap. I haven't gotten that far into sculpting, completely new stuff. Depending on what it is, I think I may have done like a stroll here or there, or added some raggedy clothing, stuff that doesn't need to be perfect, like a nice smooth cloak or an elven face. Something that's all raggedy is perfect, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be so neat. perfect doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just smooth it with my finger all around it. And you have roughly, when you mix up the putty, you have about an hour work time, give or take. That's why I only do a little bit at a time. This is when the putty starts to harden up and it's hard to manipulate, then the best bet is just to not work with it anymore and make up a new batch. So now once this dries tomorrow, I'll do another scrub with the toothbrush and warm soapy water just to get rid of that chapstick oil off of it. That way it'd be ready to prime and paint. Alright, so now these other areas, like right here on his wing, I'll just go ahead and fill in it with the putty. Okay, it's probably stuck on auto-focusing. So hold on, let me fix the camera real quick, because I think it's stuck on auto-focusing, and we don't want that. If it will let me do it. No, probably not. Nope. See if I can do this while I'm streaming. Waiting for it to load up. There we go. Alright, hold on. It might not let me do it while it's streaming. At this point it looks okay? Okay, I'll try to leave it at this. Alright. It's a big piece, so it's hard to see. Alright. Filling in that little hole right there. And this, once it dries, it does add strength to the area. So another use for modeling putty is, let's say you have a really big model connect, to the two connections, and you don't have pinning, or it's just too hard to pin, you can put putty in between the two on one part, and then put super glue on the other, and then just stick them together, and the super glue and the modeling putty will react instantly, and it will seal. So the modeling putty with the super glue will react, and it will make it like an instant set almost. So that's a quick way to put pieces together, and that's probably what I'll do here on the wing. is I'll add some putty right in here to help glue it together onto the body. So what I'm doing, I'm just adding a little bit of putty right in here, and that'll help. Like I said, it'll strengthen the connection. Because right now I just have a pin going in to this part, into this part, and just super glue. So this will actually add strength. Sorry. So all I'm doing is just taking a little bit off my nail. Now I've seen some, one or two people licking the tool to get their saliva onto the tool and using that to smooth out the putty. To be honest, I don't think that's a great idea. Just because it's two-party putty, and it's to be on the safe side of caution. I wouldn't do that because you don't want to be ingesting parts of this putty. Says the one who licks his brush to paint. Yes, I admit I'm a brush licker. I soften them. Stick the brush in my mouth. Add my saliva. I use it as a blending agent for two-brush blending. But those paints I use are not toxic. I did the research. I know. And the paints I use for that is Formula P3 from Privateer Press. They're designed for that. That's what they do in their studio, and it's a great technique, and I'm slowly getting more comfortable with it. It does take a while. It's an advanced technique. My first test stream I did, where it was a side-by-side video with me and my good friend Justin, I was showing him how to do that and figuring out how to get the computer, the streaming to work. I'm planning on doing that more to show how that's done. Probably on my next project. I won't be doing that much on this one. Alright, I'm not going to go around this with the putty because it takes a while to get it to smooth right. So I'm just using the putty to fill in the big gaps, and then I'll use the plastic putty on everything else. And I don't want to spend too long on this because I want to work on the Golden Horde base and get some painting. Get some painting in here on this painting channel. That's not... Alright. Alright, I'm gonna let that set and then come back and fix those other areas with the plastic putty in just a moment. Let's go ahead and grab the other arm. Hearing this scraping noise, and I thought that was me, but it's the music. Again. Yeah, you're not gonna make me work with it. Alright. The horn that I glued on is still being touchy, so I'm not gonna bother with the wing. Let that fully set. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a bit gap over on the body. Bring the big old beastie back. Move that other wing. Alright, so we have this gap right here. So my putty's starting to... It's at the halfway mark, almost. So, I want to use it up pretty quick. So let's go ahead and make a little... kind of a sausage, almost, and just shove it into that hole in between. Work it in there with the tool. And if need be, I can probably sculpt or mimic the scales right there. I don't think I'll need to. I'll wait till it dries and figure out if I need to from there. Sometimes if you sculpt something and then you were still working around the model, filling in other gaps, you take the chance of sticking your finger in all that sculpting you just did. So with that, it's best just to do a little bit at a time after you filled the gaps. You know, one session, just concentrate on sculpting an area, let it dry. So you don't run the chance of leaving a fingerprint in where it should be a scale, dragon scale, or chainmail. That's happened more than once. Alright, so I'm just using the last bit of putty just to stick it down into this hole and pressing it up against the model so it dries, so it's a little bit, I have more surface area to add more putty in it. I'm not going to make any more right now. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the plastic putty and show that to you guys real quick on some areas on the wing, and then I'm going to start painting. Alright, so right there, it's smooth. So what I can do is just lay down another scale, maybe right in there, but they're pretty big, so I'm not too concerned about it at the moment. So I'll come back to it and see. This one, there's a big deep gap that I'm just shoving putty in it. Here, I'll add the plastic putty just to, and then file that smooth. But I'll be doing that later this week. All right. Strip off the excess car mats. Clean tools real quick. All right, we're going to go ahead and put this aside. Do a quick cleanup real. All right, so we got the water. So I'm just using an old brush to smooth out the putty. Wash my hands off real quick from car mats. Okay. That's the right one. There we go. Alright, so like I said, this is a Vallejo plastic putty. Comes in a 20 milliliter tube, aluminum tube, like a toothpaste tube. They also have it in like a dropper. Here. Like a Vallejo dropper bottle, similar to this, but it's the putty inside it. But I heard that that's got a thicker nozzle. This one is more fine applicator tube. You don't have to prep it or anything. It's ready to go right out. So let's find an area. So right here, hopefully that shows up on the camera. You can see the line between the horn or the spike and the wing membrane. So you just gently squeeze. It's white, so that should show up really good against the gray plastic. So you just move it around the area. You don't need a whole lot for this type. Paper towel over here. And then you just lightly dampen it with a wet brush. Don't use your saliva, don't lick this brush. And you just smooth it out over the area. There you go. And it fills in the gap and it smooths it out. I might put another layer over it once it's drying. And we'll check that. We'll check back on that in a bit. So right here, there's a little hole, little gap. And the thickness of it is almost like a toothpaste too, so definitely don't put this in your mouth and try to brush your teeth. I just brush across the area so it fills in the gap. If it's too much, if I get too much on there, it washes off, which I kind of did there, but I'll let it dry and then come back with another layer. It's quick and easy than trying to smooth out the putty and get the putty, mix up the putty, right, and all that stuff. And like I say, within 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes, I give it about 40-45 minutes, just to be on the safe side. Just to make sure it's thoroughly dry. And that depends on how thick you apply it. And you can add texture to it. You can make it even like more of a wash. Just put it on your palette, add water, and just apply it onto the model. And it dries, and it's kind of a sandy texture. So if you want a smooth, if you're doing it over a smooth area, I do suggest filing it. But it's real easy to file. I'm brushing up towards where the join is a little off. There's like a ledge. So I'm brushing up towards that to fill in that hole and smooth it out. Same idea of how liquid green stuff should work, but I find that the liquid green stuff, in my experience with it, and I've tried it numerous times, it shrinks and it doesn't fill the line. So you have to put another application, smooth it out, and that shrinks, and that still doesn't cover the gap that you're trying to do, the seam. It ends up filling in detail around it and not the seam that you're trying to, the hole between the two parts. So I don't know how people can use it. I'm not sure if I'm using it wrong or what, but I followed the videos I saw, even the GW one, and I can't get it to work for myself. I found this, and this is just great. The first test was when I did a Privateer Press Mountain Troll, and I painted it within 1 day, start to finish, out of the box, brand new, clean, assembled, filled in gaps, primed it, painted it up. It took me about, I think, 14 hours. It took roughly that. And I used this to fill in the gaps. So it worked like a charm. I was very impressed with it. I'm just double checking to see. And it was really nice because I didn't really file it because I wanted that texture, and it worked out really good. And then I added the GW texture paints in certain areas because he's a living rock, and it turned out really cool. I was really happy, and the client was very, very impressed. That's always good. As a commission painter, and you're doing stuff for people, and you give it to them, and their eyes are they're so wide-eyed, and they're in shock, and they're speechless. you know you did a good job. I need to do his thumb right here. I'm trying to see the line right there. Yeah, it was not the reaction I was expecting. I thought he was, because he kept rotating and looking at it and wasn't saying anything. And after a while, you're not sure if he's upset, they're upset with it, or what. And then he's like, "Oh, this is just gorgeous, fantastic." That's nice thing. So I add a little bit too much water and turned it into a wash, but that's okay. I'm going to do this till about 8, and then the last hour I'm going to do some painting. I'm kind of doing painting right now. And this is kind of the same technique that I saw being used with milliput. Milliput. And that's another thing. I couldn't get that to work right for me. But this works really well, so I like it and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so we'll set that aside. So I'm also going to show that you can fill in these more of a hole. Not too big gaps like on the body at the neck, because that just takes too much of the putty. But you can fill in these smaller, deeper holes instead of the seams. A little easier to use than mixing up a bit of putty. So yeah, if you think about it like toothpaste, and then just smooth it out with your brush, your wet brush, it works really well. And this was like $4 that I got at my local game store. Shout out to Source Comics and Games. So right here is a bit thicker, bigger opening. All right. I don't want my brush too wet because I don't want it to soak up what I applied in the hole. I just want to smooth out the edge. You know, like right there. Smooth it out. Try to add some more while it's wet. And just dab it in there, make sure it gets in there. I'm not trying for... Oh, I'm trying to get it as smooth as possible with the brush. And because this thumb needs to be filled in too, I can do it right there. But I'm going to come back with the my file to smooth that out, but I'm trying to smooth it out as best as possible with the brush and the wet brush. And it's not filling in any details because it's so thin. It's just filling in where I want it to right now. So the seam on his finger. This one was pretty, it didn't line up quite right. I've also seen the application of this where you make almost a wash with it. You pour it on, put quite a large amount on your palette and wet it down, and then just apply it across the bottom of tanks for weathering. And then once it's dry, it's because it's got grit in it. And that gives it a really cool texture. And that's why I did file it when I worked on that mountain troll, because I wanted that texture around them where the rocks joined up against the skin. Alright. Let that dry. That's still wet. A little bit longer than I expected for it to dry. It's probably because it rained today and I have the window open, so I didn't want the AC fan keep going off during the stream. So we got some it's not raining at the moment, but it's still moist in the air. Humidity. That's the word I was looking for. It's a little bit of humidity in the air. It might take a while for these to dry. Alright, so. But that's how I use what I use to fill in gaps and seams on models. So we're almost at 8 o'clock at the hour. And what I did is I just wiped off the tip before I put the cap on. Made it real easy. Make sure I clean my brush. Alright, so let's go ahead and move these pieces out of the way. And get started working on this part. Alright, real quick cleanup, hold on. Things out of my way. Drink water. Check the chat. Real quiet chat. That's alright. So, here is the base that I've been working on. Like I said, I did some pre-painting with the airbrush earlier today. So right here you can kind of see his footprints. And that's where his feet will fit. And when I attach the model to the base, I will do a pin through him so it fits right on there. And I'll scrape off the paint on those areas so it's bare resin, bare material to each other so it glues better. Because if you glue paint to paint, it's not a great bond, and it actually can chip and break off. So we have the gold, which is the majority of the pieces. Then we have random treasure chests, which has some wooden shields, some metal shields, some metal or some jars. The arcing stone is right there. I kind of hit that with more of my silver, so I know it's that. There's some other weapons. There's an axe here, a warhammer, and then we have the pillars. Oh, all right. Let's get to work. Let's get the palette out. And that paint is from before, so I'm going to toss that. It's too watery. Alright, so I got enough water in there. I'm going to go ahead and lay down my palette paper. Now as you put the palette paper, so I can get this in the frame, it will want to curl up, but as it starts to soak up, it uncurls. So to hold it down, I just put paint pots on it to hold it. Find the right brush I want to use. There it is. So I'm going to push that up. Now for this, I'm going to use some use my GW Games Workshop Citadel paints. They're base paints, good coverage quickly. So let's see here. I'm not going to do. I might do the wash a bit later. Let's get some base coats down. So for these treasure chests, the chests and the wood, I'm going to use some dryad bark. Apply that onto my palette, maybe a little bit more. Now with my palette paper, this is my wet palette. I have the water just at the edge of the sponge. So I also have this border of water here. The discoloration, it's not mold, it's paint, because if I want to add some water to my paint puddle, I don't want to take it from my jar because it will saturate the bristles. It will take too much. Here I can just take a little bit and thin it a little bit at a time. And that's just paint. It's just paint on the side. It's not mold. But do be sure to, if you're not going to be painting for a while, that you wring out the sponge and let it dry out. You can also spritz some vinegar on it. That will help alleviate any mold or anything like that. I have a spritz bottle of water and a little bit of vinegar in the bathroom that we use for cleaning, and I just spritz that on the sponge. All right, pull some paint from my puddle here and add some water. Just to thin it out. Wick it off on my towel. And find a spot, start going. Now, I sprayed some of the bits on the chest gold, like the metal banding, but if I paint over that, it's not a big deal. I can go back and fix that. Wonder if I can get this right up into the camera. It's a big piece. My laptop has died. Hold on a minute. Just turning off my laptop. I have that off to the side so I can watch the live stream as well. Alright. So we're just trying to work through and add base coats and then do some washes. So we'll see how far we can get from the last hour. I'll work my way around here. I was thinking of doing the chests all in different colors. I might do that just to add variety, but for speed I might have it one color and just go around it. I don't know. Actually, I think I will change out the colors just to be... Yeah, we'll just paint all the wood chest in this color, and we'll do different colors, like different leather colors for these other chests. Maybe more cool tones like blues or gray, like blue grays, because the majority of the model is trying to be warm tones, because Smaug himself is red, and that's a warm tone. And to offset it, it's good to have a cool tone or cool color just here and there. Now Bilbo, he'll be right here, and what he wears is blue, so there'll be a spot of blue there. But I think if I do some blue grays on some of these other areas, that'll break it up. Because right now this is considered a warm, because the gold is yellow and orange, and that's on the warm spectrum. So a little bit of color theory here. I can see which ones are wood because it has the wood texture on it, so. And we'll have some silvers, like some of the shields and stuff will have silver in there, and that's a cool, on the cool spectrum, because it's like silver is a bluish tint, whereas gold is more yellow and red, orange. Some of these pots we'll do in different cooler tones, maybe some green and turquoise, things like that. The stonework I was looking at, I found it's kind of hard to find some pictures of the area that's not from the movie, because they the whole area is all in dark. Dark cave is hardly not any light. But I notice in some of the artwork pictures that wasn't the color shift. These are in green. It's like a green tint to the stonework. So that's interesting. All right. I think that might be it for the wood chest. Not sure if that's... I'll make this one wood. It's high, it's deep in the horde. But yeah, if I paint over any of the gold, that's alright. I can go back and fix that. Good deal. I just wanted to get the majority of it colored up with the brush, the airbrush earlier today. So this one right here. Filling it in around the metal banding. All right. Okay. We'll let that dry and we'll move on to something else. So for the stonework, let's go ahead and do that stonework. I'm going to base coat it in Formula P3 Crits Bane base. It's a very dark green gray color, and it's a great. It's going to be a great base coat for the stonework. So put that on my palette. So when I clean my brush, there's still some moisture in it, so I don't really need to add any more water to thin it, especially for base coats. But if it's too thick, it's not flowing off the brush nicely, go ahead and add some more. Add a little bit more water. And if it's too thin, just add a little bit more paint. That's why I don't thin from, I make a puddle, a little glob of paint from the dropper, and then I pull from that. And if I just need more paint, I just add more paint, add some more water. And I could have multiple pools of the same paint with different thickness. One really thick, so add a little bit of water, be thin. If I want to thin it really a lot, that would be a separate one. And then when I'm done painting, I can just close it up and I can come back to it later. Either later in the day or within an hour. Let's say it's time to eat, you're hungry. You just close it up, go get something to eat, and then come back. Your paint's still wet. You might have to, you know, if it's a lawn, I tend not to leave it on the palette too long, like a couple days. I try not to do that, just because here in where I live, the humidity, it's just too much. So as you saw when I opened it up, the puddle, the pool puddles of paint were already breaking up from the water. I could just mix it up, you know, stir it up again, and it'd be fine, or just add a little bit more paint to thicken it up. But sometimes it's just easier just to have, you know, take that paint off and put on a new palette paper. Also the green of the stonework, because it's a cool, it's green is on the cool spectrum compared to the, now you can see it stands out. It's that color theory, the opposite, red and green. And it's not so much Christmas colors because it's a, this is more of a muted green, and the red of Smaug, it's not going to be a bright, you know, candy apple red, but it's a little bit brighter than this, so it does offset each other. Because I have the orange and yellow, the gold, I'll be adding purples, like burgundies, into Smaug too, besides red, and that will complement and stand out against the gold. So I got, for this one with my plan, I'm going to have a whole bunch of different colors on this, but they're all harmonious. They all live together in a nice happy area, nice happy peace. I promise my future streams will not be these big projects. There'll be small ones too. Maybe Thursday I'll do a small project just to break this up while I'm that way it gives me enough. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. It gives me enough time to make sure Smaug is all ready for painting. And more crits base. Now crits, that's the name of one of the factions in Privateer Press's game, War Machine game. Just like with Citadel, they have their own wacky names for their paints. I usually just say it's this green-gray color. Dark green-gray. That's the color I like. Some people want to know what colors they are, what's the name of them, so they can find them. So. I use a variety of colors of paints. I have Citadel Games Workshop paints. I have Privateer Press Formula P3 paints. I have some Reaper Master Series paints and some of their other lines of the Reaper paints. I don't have any Vallejo except for their additives, and I just picked up some, and I also have some Scale 75 paints that I'm going to play around with and see how those work. I've heard good things about those, so I'll try those out. I almost have more of a bigger collection of paint than I do of models sometimes, because you need that one color. You never know. Gotta have them all. With Pokemon paint, gotta have them all. But sometimes I don't really like to stick to one brand of paint, because that limits you. There's just so many options out on the market now than there used to be, and they all have their good and their bad. Parts. Lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. They all have their good and bad uses. Some are better than others. Certain colors in the line are better than others. So it doesn't hurt to have a variety. And certain paints will work for one area, for one project, but for another one they don't work. It doesn't work very well. And as a commission painter, people want specific colors. If it's an army, let's say Space Wolf, Space Marines, they want that specific color. So instead of trying to mix other colors to come up with that color, it's just easier just to go out and buy the exact color. Alright. This is still wet. That's coverage. Oh, there's some areas over here. I'm always rotating the model around and seeing if I missed anything. Or if it needs another layer. Alright. So let's work on some of these other chests. We'll add some other colors in here. Ooh, what color should I do? Speaking of Space Wolves, we'll do the base coat of the Fang, which is a nice dark blue-gray color. And we'll just keep working through applying the base coats. Hold on a minute, my phone's going off. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn off my phone. Alright, so we're also going to do this on some of the shields here. We're going to keep the gold almost not filigree, but the framing in gold, the ornamentation. We'll just paint in the background. I have it a little bit too watery, so it's not covering too well, but I'll let that dry and come back to it. So I'm just trying to go around and find some random areas, paint this color. There's another shield, we'll do it in the same color. We'll go back to our dryad bark and fits this right here. I didn't get it all the way painted. All right. Okay, and we'll do this chest right here, and this blue-gray. Actually, I think what I might do on Thursday is just continue working with this, painting this up. Before I start working on Smaug, painting wise. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Just to break it up. Because I know it gets boring just watching someone do prep work on something. That's why I wasn't spending the whole stream doing putty work. I just wanted to show it off. This is what I'm doing. Pretty shinies. Yeah, he's still kind of shiny. When I add the wash to it, I'll dull it down. And then I gotta bring it back up to the shiny. Alright, so let's see what... let's do a burgundy red color on some of these, like a reddish brown leather. And perfect color. We'll do Warnfang brown, which is kind of a reddish brown. That on the base. Paint that really up. There you go. Alright. Music's jamming. Now I'm going to apply base coats on all these areas and then do an all-over wash, roughly the same color. That's a way to speed up and also to tie everything together. So doing random colors. I'll do the random colors washes throughout it near the end just to add some variations. But for the main shading, I'm just going to do all over wash. I think with the gold, I'm going to do first Reichland Flesh Shade, which is a reddish brown. For the gold, it helps enrich the color. And then for the chests and trunks and the shields, I'll do like Agrat's Earthshade as the main shade, and then go in and add some other variations. I noticed I missed an area here on the stonework. To our burgundy, or red leather color. Find some random chests. This music almost sounds like a Persian, Prince of Persia type music. Music I'm listening to, it's free streaming, copyright free streaming. It's called Pretzel Rocks, as you can see in the chat, and it shows, just to let you know what it is, tells you what song it is and the link that you can go to it. If you like that song, please click on those links to check out the artist's other work. A lot of the stuff that I just started listening to it, and it's really nice background music. I just did the instrumental ones. Pretzel Rocks has a lot of different channels, so it's a great way. It's free. You can just listen to it while you're painting, while you're doing other stuff. All right. I'm trying to keep it random of where the colors are. And that just brights up the base. The other this is a very nicely sculpted scenic base. The other one that's really nice is the one for the Mumok, the big elephant. And yes, I will be doing that on a stream when I'm painting mine. I have 2 that I want to paint. So I probably won't do both of them on stream, but I'll do one of them and show how I'm painting that. Okay, we'll do this one right here. And then we'll figure out another color. still have a few more treasure chests here. So I'm just trying to figure out what other colors I should do. I'm looking at it to see. I'll do that one in the red leather. It breaks up the gold too, having the different colors on there. I think the next color we'll do is another green, maybe a pale muted green, not so dark green as the stonework. Yeah, we'll do Death World for us. That's a lighter green. Either that one or Death Guard. Yeah, we'll go with this one. It's a nice muted olive color. Yeah, I like that green. I like it. Yeah, these pots, I want to do those in some slightly different colors. Not sure if I want to do bright colors. I'm keeping all the colors really muted so they don't stand out and overpower, because the main focus of the model is Smaug, so he'll be more highlights, a little more brighter. These will be more muted colors. They won't be as highlighted as much because you don't want to draw your attention from Smaug, but you still want to be able to see the base and see all the detail on this wonderfully sculpted base. There's also bits of armor. So when doing something this large, you don't want to take, well, with any base, you really don't want that to be the main focus of the overall model, unless it's scenery piece. But you still want it to look good, and tie in with the model, the overall look and theme that you're going for. That's happened so much where I am painting and then I forget an area and I rotate it and I'm further on with the model and I realize, oh, I forgot to do that, or I only did one part and I rotated to do the other part and I was like, oh, didn't do that. So I'm constantly rotating the model to see if there's any areas I missed. Looking at it at different angles.
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Hello, Mr. Reliable. Thank you for following me. Welcome to the stream. Just working on the Golden Horde base for Smaug. Just adding some more color to it to finish up the stream. My next stream will be Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. The next live stream, but you can always see my videos down below. It's more convenient for you. Alright, I think I got all the chests, treasure box covered. Oh, there's this one down here. Oh, there's another one. Alright, we'll change that up. With some of these other colors. And we'll add our blue-gray to this one. If anyone has any questions, just go ahead and post them in the chat and I'll get to them as soon as possible. I'm getting to a stopping point for the night, and then I could see if there's answer any questions from the chat. So be sure to post those if you have any. Or if you just want to say hi, that's always nice. There's that one right there that I keep overlooking. Alright, so we should do that in the green. We'll do that in the green. And I think I'll work on some silver. Some of these plates, I'll just paint them up silver. Stuff popping up on my window. Alright, I think that is all the treasure chests. And then some shields. I'll go back over those. And the shields with that blue-gray. Didn't coat the first. That's what I like about the Citadel paint, base paints. They coat. They cover really easy, really nice. Usually in one layer. Alright. So now we're going to add some silver to make some of these other areas pop. Usually on the... These aren't shields, I think they're plates. So we have the shields right here, so I'll paint those silver. Actually, you know what color I'll use? I'll use the Radiant Platinum from Formula P3, if I can find it. Hold on. There we go. Radiant Platinum. Use that color. I'll rotate my palette so you can see it. That color right there. P3s do take one or two coats to cover really well, but they're nice. They cover really nice and smooth, even over black. But the reds cover black really well. But because I'm painting over the gold, it might take me a couple. That's okay. I just put over one layer, let it, come back to it in a bit, and it's dry. All right, there's the other plate. I knew there was like 3 plates on here. the at's head here in this color. Out. Alright, I think I'm gonna do some of these jars and silver too, just to add some variety. In fact, I might do a majority of those in this color just to break up the gold. I'll let that dry. I'm going to go ahead and paint over the archenstone in this color. I'm going to do some washes over that at a later date, but just so I know where it's at. That's what, right here. Okay, we're almost dead center. So I'll do washes, like blue glazes, and everything to make it stand out, and I'll do it in the surrounding area because it glows. The Archenstone, the heart of the mountain. Oh, there's some more plates that I missed. Alright, so we're getting close to the end of the stream tonight. Thank you for joining me, listening to me ramble on. Thank you to Mr. Reliable for following me and joining me on this journey. And to all my other followers, thank you very much. I appreciate you doing that and just coming in and hanging out and chatting or watching me paint. That's good too. I just started doing Twitch streams, and I thought I would do my own personal stuff, which is the majority of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit models. So, but there'll be some other things in here too. I have my schedule down below in the information area below the video, and what that is, my schedule right now is Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm in the Great White North, just below Canada in the States. So if you can join me for my live streams, that's awesome. If not, you can always watch the videos at your leisure, and they are down below. I also have my Facebook and Twitter pages, the links to those, where you can see more of my work. So you can click on those or follow those links. Copy and paste. I think they're links. Yes, they are links. I did make them links. And like and follow over there if you like. That way you can get up to dates of what I'm doing. bug in here flying around. So I'm just going through and adding some more silver just to break up that the gold, and usually on these pots in here, on here. There's some cups and other things over here, so some helmets, armor. Alright, finish up this one. I think I want to do some of the banding on the treasure chests in silver too, just to break that up. All right. I'm going to flip this back around and work on this axe right here. Real quick. Alright, so that got the majority of more color on here. So I'm going to finish up, add some other color and do some washes and then highlights. But I think I'm going to work on this on Thursday. And that might be the majority of that stream. We'll be working on him. In between that, I will finish puttying up and filling the gaps on Smaug and wait for that to dry and get him ready for priming and base coats. Might do that also on Thursday, so we'll see what happens with my schedule. But we are coming to the end of tonight's stream, so let's go ahead and set that down. Once again, I want to thank you all for joining me and just listening to me ramble and watch me paint. I enjoy it. I'm having fun. So once again, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, you can join me and watch me paint, chat, ask me questions about painting. I enjoy talking about painting, about miniatures, all that type of stuff. So once again, thank you once again. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll end it here and have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.